I found out that my child-free boyfriend of 3 years had a 4-year-old child that he knew about. Yesterday, I broke it off with him. I honestly don't know why I stalled in doing this, but I think I was just in shock and couldn't process the whole situation. There was no getting through this. It was done from the moment I found out. If you didn't know, I found out my ex had a child when we went to meet a financial advisor and accountant before we moved in together. Before I broke it off with him, I decided to meet him in person to get my things back and give him his. I met him in a park in a public place, and I went with a friend who stayed nearby. I honestly wanted to know why he did this, why he wasted both of our time, why he couldn't go for someone who either had a child or wanted them in the future. He basically said that he knew when he met me that he wanted to pursue me. Though we've been together for 3 years, I have known him for 5. When we first started dating, he lived 3 hours from me, and we moved his business and his whole life so our relationship wouldn't be long distance. We were introduced by a friend of his about 5 years ago, and in the 2 years before we started dating, he was more of an acquaintance that would come into town to visit his friend. His friend and I were close, so I think that's how he got to know a lot about me, like how I was child-free and would never date a man who had a possibility of having a child or wanting one. When he asked me out, I not only asked the friend that introduced us if he wanted kids, but I asked my ex as well, and he said that he never wanted children and he didn't have any. For the 3 years we were together, we also discussed not having children numerous times, so I thought we were on the same page. Clearly, that was all a lie. When I met him at the park, he had a file full of documents, and he brought his file so he could explain to me why he did what he did and the lengths he went through so that we could be a couple. As he explained what happened, he showed me proof, especially of the court paperwork. First, that the child, that's how he referred to his son the whole conversation, is actually 5 and not 4. His son recently had a birthday. When we met, unbeknownst to me, my ex was already a father and the baby was a few months old. He had gotten a former ex pregnant and she had a kid, and they had 50-50 custody for about a year. According to him though, they weren't together. He was an active father and they had an amicable relationship. As he got to know me and found out the info from his friend, he realized I would never give him a chance because he had a child. I vaguely remember him visiting and all of us going to lunch with other friends, and he and his friends kept bringing up strange scenarios that would make me change my mind about dating men with children. For example, saying something like, if the guy was perfect for you in every way, but he had a child or wanted children, you would never be with him? And my answer was always no, because my perfect guy didn't want kids. Knowing that I would never date a man who had a child, he decided when his child was 1 that he had to get rid of that responsibility. I'm not joking, that's what he said. He slowly started to see his child less, and it was bizarre listening to him methodically explain how he removed himself from every responsibility that had to do with his child. From lessening the days he saw him, to not picking him up from daycare, to not going to doctor's appointments. He did this over months until his ex saw that he was serious about not being involved in any way but monetary. He eventually went to his ex and told her that he wanted to terminate his rights. He would pay for child support more than what was required, but he didn't want any responsibility. In addition to that, he paid his ex to go to court with him to change the child's last name and remove his and just leave the mother's name. Once the child's last name had been changed, child support had been set up and he terminated his rights. Only then did he ask me out. He said he did all of this for me so that we could have a chance, and that he wanted to come to me child-free as well, which is why he waited for everything to be settled in court first. So he basically spent a year getting rid of his child, and he presented it as a challenge he went through to get me, and he didn't understand why I saw that as completely scary and unhinged. To finally throw away everything related to his old life, he then moved to my city and started again. I asked him if his parents knew about his child. He said yes, that though they didn't like his ex, they were active grandparents until he decided to terminate his rights. Once he did, his whole side of the family cut the child off, wanted nothing to do with him. I have met his family and extended family many times, and not once was the child mentioned. How do you do that? How do you just deprive your grandson of a relationship with your side of the family just because your son decided to end his involvement? He told me he would give me time, but that I helped him realize that he was child-free and that we belonged together. I told him that it was over and I never wanted to see him again, that there was no fixing this, and I left him after that. I'm now figuring out how to leave the city immediately, but I can't for a few months since I have a job contract to fulfill. In the meantime, I'm looking for another job far away and avoiding him and his family who keeps trying to get in contact with me to explain his side. I've also ended the friendship with a friend who knew he had a kid and went along with the lies. I know that his other friends in the city we live in probably knew as well, but I have no proof of that. However, there's no way only one friend knew, especially since a lot of them have been friends for decades. I just don't understand what the end goal was here. I don't understand how he doesn't see how wrong he was in what he did. I don't understand how he thought he could make a whole child disappear. Though I am child-free, children should be protected, should be loved and cared for, and eliminating yourself as a father figure and then having your family withdraw their involvement is going to have a severe impact on this child once they understand. I know I did nothing to cause this, but one day this child will realize his dad gave him up to be with a woman he barely knew, and I just can't imagine the trauma that it's going to cause. I can't believe he did this to me, and more importantly to his son. He has shown me he's capable of anything, and my main goal is to now leave the city. Before I leave though, my plan is to tell everyone, and I mean everyone, about what he did, but for now, I'm laying low and just going to ignore him for my own safety.
Are just some red flags that I ignored while dating. Number one would be the first date. When the first date he was asking me about like why my ex and I broke up, and I was like, I don't really want to talk about that. My ex had like a whole other girlfriend. Like that story is a story for like a month, and also like it doesn't even fucking matter. It was like, well no, like we're here to get to know each other. Like I don't want to just like talk about the weather. Like let's get deep. And I was like, he's so fucking right. He is so right. So we did just that. We got very deep, and he knew all about the fact that my ex had a whole other girlfriend while we were dating on the first fucking date. It's like, hi, how are you? I'll do the oysters. And yeah, like my ex like cheated on me. Like it was so lovely. And then I knew all about it, him and his past. And it's like, why did I let that fucker convince me that it was normal for us to just be like trauma dumping on each other because we're getting deep? Like I am the bitch to fall for that because like I love getting deep. So he really knew what he was doing. He kept this energy up. Like the second date, I remember sitting, we were like talking, getting drinks, and he was like, what's the worst thing that ever happened to you in a relationship? And I'm like, I can't say that out loud. Not on our second date. We were just laughing. Like, you want to hear all about my essay in my past relationship? Absolutely fucking not. I was like, this is a safe space. Open up. And you know my dumbass, and like like I'm gonna open up. So I did just that, and it's like embarrassing. I saw this on a TikTok a while ago where the girl was saying like if they're rushing to see you for a second date, like that's a problem. Like if they're trying to do a second date within a day of each other, that's a problem. And I like always kept that in the back of my head. Mind you, this guy was like, we did our first date, and the next day he's like, let's do a second date. I'm like, absolutely. Everything that bitch said to me on TikTok went through this year and out that year. I was like, yes. Like why shouldn't we? So another red flag I ignored was like the speed of everything. Everything just went super quickly, and I was like, well, we're like soulmates. Like, why would it not? We were not fucking soulmates. I was dumb. Also, never saw this man's apartment, and we were talking for like over a month. That's weird. Like, that's the thing is, if they're not inviting you to their place, or you've never even seen it once, like there's something wrong with that. I don't know what it is, but it's a red flag. Next red flag I ignored was when he was asking for tips on how to be an influencer. Listen, that's embarrassing. It was not like he was asking about my job and like how I became one. He was more asking like, how do you do it? Like he wanted the tips and tricks to like become an influencer. Like, I'm talking posting schedule. I'm talking like what camera angle. Like that's a problem. And my dumbass was like, yeah, no, really, like this is it. You really do point blank. Like it's so good. 3 to 5 times a day. Be authentic. Like next red flag that my dumbass ignored. My gut feeling. My gut was like, whoa, Liddy, this is moving like super fucking quick. Like this is so quick. And I was like, shut up. Like I was just ignoring that gut feeling, and I don't know why. I feel, you know what, I do know why. I feel like when you have someone that's like so persistent and so like, oh my god, like when am I gonna see you again, all these things, you're like, oh my gosh, like when am I gonna see them again? Like why is my gut freaking out? My gut's just freaking out because I'm just anxious. Like that's what it is. It's like, no bitch, your gut is telling you to slow the fuck down and you're not listening. That's not the first time that I've ignored my gut feeling. Like my gut, it's your intuition. My intuition literally was like, I feel like my ex is living a double life. He was living a double fucking life. So it's like your intuition is not gonna just tell you those things without it being true. Then it's like anxiety and intrusive thoughts get in the way, and like maybe it's not true and you are just overthinking it. Whatever. My gut and me personally, I knew that motherfucker was not shit, and I just continued to ignore my gut just because I wanted to be a dumb bitch. So if your gut is telling you something, you should probably fucking listen to it. Another red flag I ignored, and I've talked about this before, is the whole like, it's the second date and he's like, what's your love language? Or like the false promises too. Just being like, you're gonna wake up to like 24 red roses. Well, guess what? I'm a bitch. If you tell me I'm gonna wake up to 24 red roses, I'm gonna assume I'm waking up to 24 red roses. But guess who the fuck did not wake up to 24 red roses? Me, bitch. So it's like, why are you just giving false promises like that? I just thought that was a red flag. Also, it's like, it's just the second date. Like, why are you getting me 24 red roses? I deserve it, but like, why? And the love language thing, as I was saying, if they're like really quick to be like, what's your love language? They want to just like become the man that they think that you want. And
Story time about how my best friend outed me on purpose. My ex-best friend and I have known each other for 10 years. Problem is we come from very different backgrounds. Her parents are super liberal. She got a tattoo when she was 15. Her parents took her to get the tattoo. They've given her all the freedom in the world. My parents are the opposite, super strict and religious. I knew I liked girls from the age of 8 years old. Watched a movie with Jessica Alba. Need I say more? I knew that this was going to be hard for my parents. So that's when I decided I would never tell them. I would just wait to move out and date whoever I wanted. But my best friend thought differently. When I was 13, I came out to her parents. They were incredibly supportive. They even gave me the birds and the bees talk. Parents were basically like my parents. When I turned 16, my parents wanted to have a formal gathering. You see, we're from the South, a place where debutante balls still exist. Parents at the time were trying to force me, and I'm serious, they were forcing me to date a boy. It would be kind of like an arranged marriage. Comes from a rich political family, so we were the perfect match. At my coming out party, parents were forcing me to dance with this boy. Dance with him for a song, then took me to the backyard and forcefully tried to kiss me. Out of nowhere, he started fondling me. Then he told me that I was his and that my parents want us to get married. Just keep in mind, I'm 16 at the time. So while my parents are trying to keep me away from bad influences, they are throwing me into the arms of a boy who's literally harassed me. At my coming out party, told him to never touch me again. I ran back into the party and he chased me. Finally went up to my parents and told them what happened. That's when my father sided with the boy. He said that we were gonna get married. So it was all true. The bestie and her parents were at the party. They could hear what I was telling my dad. I'm obviously in tears at this point. I mean, I just got harassed at my party, and my parents don't want to do anything about it. It's like this kid has permission to do whatever he wants because we're gonna get married. My best friend came up to my parents and told them that she needed to talk to them. And I knew right away what she was gonna try to say. I pulled her away and told her to just leave it, that I would handle the situation on my own. And trust me, I understand where she was coming from because she loves me. But she had no right to do what she did next. I asked my parents to tell the guests to leave. But no, we had to keep up appearances. And my bestie yells out, "She's gay and you don't even know it." My dad grabbed me by the arm and pulled me into the kitchen. That's when he said, "What is that about?" And I just started crying. This was literally something I was never, ever going to tell my parents. I did not want them to know that I was gay. My mom starts crying too. And that's when my dad starts crying too. That's when my mom says, "I've known it all this time." Then they started asking me why I was doing this to them, why I was being such a bad daughter. That's when my best friend and her parents come into the kitchen and they told my parents that everybody should just go home. They told all the guests to leave, and then my best friend took me to her house. Guess what? My parents didn't want to speak to me after that. They reproached me every single day. They even wanted to send me to a camp to get rehabilitated. Of course I said no. Oh yeah, and remember the boy they promised me to? My parents invited him and his parents over for dinner, and this guy tried to kiss me again. He got me alone in the laundry room and literally went to town. I pushed him away and threatened him. This guy's literally crazy. As soon as I turned 18, I moved out. My parents don't really speak to me. And I broke up with my bestie. She's always begging me to forgive her. Should I?
Would I be the asshole if I told my friend's daughter that her mom led a cult? One of my male closest friends, female, Beth, died 20 plus years ago due to illness. We met through work and I became extremely close to both her and her husband, Ted, much younger, closer to my age. I was one of a group of friends that formed a close-knit group of men devoted to Beth. She had very strict rules about what was or wasn't acceptable behavior in order to be in her inner circle. And Ted often referred to her as a priestess. FYI, it was a gradual progression, which made it seem normal. I didn't fully realize it at the time, but I think I had suspicions that it was a cult, which I now know it was. Beth had a daughter, Meg, 20, from a previous marriage, who did not live at home and was not privy to the nature of the relationships we had with her mother, which were intimate and all Meg saw was the adoration and attention we gave her mom, especially Ted, who doted on her. Her bio dad was in the picture, but he was pretty clueless as to what was going on. I maintained a friendship with Meg after Beth's passing, but everyone else in the group went no contact with her, as well as each other, including Ted, and she still has no idea why. Meg is now in her 40s, very single. She has told me that she would like a relationship like the one her mom and Ted had, but I also know that Meg has absolutely no idea what was going on. Part of me feels guilty for not saying anything so that she can try to get a healthy perspective on relationships and understand why everyone went no contact with her. I am concerned that by doing that, it will taint the memory she has of her mother. They were close. I also know that Beth did not want her to know, so I would feel guilty about betraying her. This has been haunting me for a very long time. Or, after all these years, should I just let sleeping dogs lie?
Am I in the wrong for forcing my stepdaughter to cut her hair? I, 31, met my husband, 34 male, 8 years ago, and we have been married for 6. He has an 11-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. I work from home, so I mainly end up taking care of her. I have since she was young. We have a generally good relationship. She stays over at her mother's most weekends. She has incredibly long blonde wavy hair, just past her bottom. It's a nightmare to take care of. It frequently tangles and she always needs help brushing and styling it before school. I'm not a morning person and I do not like having to wake up early to do a kid's hair. It's expensive to maintain as she requires more products. She insists on using hair oils which can cost around $11 and only last a few weeks. She also insists that she has to use curly hair shampoo instead of regular shampoo and conditioner, which is often over $10 per bottle. And she goes through that at a fast rate. She won't use a regular brush on it as she insists it breaks her hair and hurts her, so she uses a wide tooth comb which takes a long time to brush when she could be doing other more productive things such as homework or helping me with chores. I decided that she had become obsessed with her hair and I don't want her to become vain, so I decided that it needs to be cut. I don't see it as a big deal as I've always had shoulder length hair as my hair does not grow very fast and I get frequent trims. It's a lot more practical. I took her to the hairdressers as normal. In the car on the way down, she said that she wants to make sure the hairdresser doesn't cut too much. I politely explained that I would like her to cut her hair to shoulder length as it's become a burden. At first, she thought I was joking, but when she realized, she started to cry. When we got to the salon, the hairdresser was reluctant to cut her hair due to her tears, but I explained the trouble of having to maintain it and assured that cutting it would be best for her. In the end, the stylist agreed and cut her hair. The stylist braided her hair, then cut it. She kept it. Her hair is now just past shoulder length and looked a lot darker. The car journey home was silent. I offered her McDonald's, but she refused. She went straight to her room when we got back. My husband went up to see her when he got home and apparently found her on the bed sobbing, holding her old hair. My husband immediately called her mother to come and collect her, and as soon as my stepdaughter was out the door, he started yelling. Her mother also came in and gave me a mouthful. I explained my reasoning, but my husband wouldn't budge. He said if I had an issue, he would have did her hair in the mornings and that he didn't mind paying for the products. He was so furious. He said that he no longer trusts me around his daughter and doesn't know if he can be with a woman who he doesn't trust with her. This broke my heart. I didn't mean her any harm. I was just so tired and I'm trying to reduce stress. I've always been the one to raise her and her brother and I'm just so exhausted. So, am I in the wrong?
I need you to stay with me, okay? I auditioned for a short film. Have I ever acted before? Not in my life. But out of 100 people, I was one of 8 people that got a call back, right? I made it to the interview round. This guy's interviewing me, the director. He says, "Can you ride a bike?" I have never ridden a bike in my entire life and I actually refused to learn. I looked at him right in the eyes. I said, "David, I am the bike rider. You see those cyclists out there? That's me." Now, I might have hesitated a little bit because I don't like lying to people, so I was like, yeah, give me a chance to warm up. Like, maybe a little, yeah. He's like, "Okay, because there's a scene where you gotta book it. Like, you really have to go fast. Can you do that?" And I was like, yeah. Apparently, I'm a good enough actress, but not a good enough liar because he emailed me and he was like, "We thank you for your time, but you have not moved on to the next round." But the director had given me the name of the guy who was supposed to be my on-screen boyfriend, and while I was doing the audition rounds and stuff like that, I was Googling him to see what he was gonna look like, right? So I'm scrolling on Hinge, like I had just downloaded Hinge, and I see this guy's profile, I'm like, he's cute, but why does he look familiar to me even though I know I've never met him? He is the man who would be playing my on-screen boyfriend if I had known how to ride a bike. And one of his Hinge prompts says, "Why do all girls seem to think that they can read people's minds?" So I responded, I'm like, "But I literally can." He's like, "Oh yeah, so what am I thinking about?" Do you understand the opportunity I have to fuck with this man right now? I don't think you understand. I have never been in this position before. I could easily just say, "You're thinking about your movie." This is a short film passion project. Nobody knows about it except the people who are going to be in it. And he doesn't know me because we never got to the point of the auditions where I get to meet him. So he doesn't know me, but I know him. And then if he says, "What movie?" I could describe in concerning detail the movie that he's going to be in that hasn't even been filmed yet. And when he says, "How do you know that?" The spirits, they told me. It's been 2 minutes and I'm already drunk with power. I'm gonna go fuck with this kid now.
Everyone received the exact amount of money they would need for the rest of their life. Most people got many thousands or even millions, while you were given exactly $5. There's something sobering about being told you will receive all the money you need for life and opening an envelope with $5 inside, especially when your portion of the rent is due in 2 weeks. Spoiler, rent was a little higher than $5 even with a couple of roommates. What did $5 even buy nowadays? I could remember a time when it would get a combo meal at a fast food place, but that was a hazy memory now. Did that mean I would even get a last meal? I walked down the street toward my girlfriend's place, unwilling to part with even a little bit to cover bus fare. I double and triple checked the bill in my pocket, afraid that if I lost it, I'd fall over instantly. That wasn't how it worked, I reminded myself. It wasn't as if the money running out would kill me. It was just sufficient to cover my remaining needs in life. Yet it still felt like a timer. After all, how much need could you fit in $5? "So, how much?" she asked me as she opened the door, wide grin on her face. I pulled out the crumpled bill and she looked confused. "Ha ha, very funny, Leah. But honestly, how much?" I shrugged. "That's it, really." A wave of various emotions fluttered across her face, many familiar from my morning's reverie. Confusion, anger, worry, sadness. She settled on sad. "But does that—" I shrugged. Who knew what any of this meant? The great AI in the cloud somewhere had run the numbers. It knew everything about us from online footprints, enough to construct a model of our lives and predict our needs. And it said I needed $5. What did it know that I didn't? There must have been a mistake, Tracy said, pulling me inside as if death were lurking around the corner. I checked more times than I can count, even went through the online support chat. But everything agrees I got what I was supposed to. Silence. Shock. At least someone else had the same reaction. "What are you going to do?" she asked after a lengthy pause. Another shrug. After all, what answers did I have? "Guess I should let Dave and Cynthia know I won't be making rent." I tried to smile, forceful a chuckle. The joke fell flat. "Listen, I didn't have your problem. I got enough to live comfortably for decades." She looked embarrassed as she spoke, but remained earnest. No wonder I loved her. "That's great for you," I said, more bitter than I had intended my quip. "No, what I'm saying is that I can take care of you. I have enough for both of us." "That's sweet, Tracy, really. But it's not about the money, it's about what I need." "Right. But I can make sure you don't need anything. I can cover you. I can take care of you." She leaned forward, taking my hands in hers. "I can be all you need." "We've only been together a few months. How can you promise to be everything I need?" She was always a romantic, but this was facts, logic, practicalities. Because I've known that's what I wanted since our first date. There was deep sincerity in her eyes, glistening there above a hopeful smile. "Maybe I just needed a little push." "What are you, Leah? I love you, but you can be awfully obtuse. I'm saying I need you. That's why I got what I did, so I could be what you needed too." "Yeah, but yes or no, Leah, together forever?" This was not the proposal I had expected, but something clicked. "Yes, of course, yes, 1,000,000 times over." I kissed her, letting the $5 bill fall to the floor, no longer needed.
Story time, bitch, story time. I showed my male teacher my meow. You heard me the fuck right. I showed my teacher my meow. I've told a story time before, but I'm gonna tell it again because bitch, this shit deserves to go viral because this shit was crazy. Please boost this video, share it to your mama, your daddy, your uncle. He was my freshman teacher. Not only that, bitch, he literally taught me and all my siblings, bitch. Literally, our teacher had a crush on him too, like one of our female teachers. We'd all gossip and talk about how fine he was, girl. Like, he was fine. I only had him 1 year and he moved away. So I'm thinking, oh damn, like the fine teacher moved away. Like, bitch, I'm never gonna see him again. Like, blah, blah. Bitches were crying and all types of stuff. So, boom, bitch. This is TMI, but bitch, we gonna tell the motherfucking truth. So, bitch, I was showering one day. I was like washing my, and this thing was kind of like hurting a little bit. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I was like, girl. So I looked down and there's like a small little bump. There's a bump. And I was like, oh my God. My ass is over here Googling this, but I'm scared. I say fuck it. Like, I literally begged my mom to take me to urgent care. We walk into urgent care, right? I go in there and the lady at the front desk, she like checks me in. While she's checking me in, this man peeks his head from around the corner. I'm like, who is that? And then he's like, Miss Baker? That's my last name, Kay Baker. He's like, Miss Baker? And I was like, but he had a mask on. I'm like, who the fuck is that? And then he takes his mask off. Bitch. This my motherfucking teacher, bitch, from high school. Bitch, that fine one that we all had crushes on. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, Mr. Williams? He was like, Miss Baker, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, you're so silly, you're so silly. Mind you, I'm like, so when the fuck did you get back? Girl, it has been years. Second of all, what the fuck is he doing here? I didn't know that his little side hustle was like he was a teacher and a nurse. And he like walks away and the lady takes me in. I'm over here shitting my pants because not only, bitch, do I have this fucking bump on my bitch, I have to worry about whether or not the doctor who's gonna check me out is my fucking teacher or not. I'm like just praying. I'm praying to God. I'm like, God, please let somebody else walk into this room. No, just no as fuck, like as fuck. So I get a knock on the door. I'm literally, bitch, biting my nails, sweating. I'm like, bitch, who is walking in this door? In walks this lady. But bitch, it's just like the lady who like comes in first to check your vitals and all that. So I ask her, I'm like, hey, is there like any like other doctors in tonight? Or is it just like him, the male doctor? This woman tells me, oh no, we only have Mr. Williams in. He's the only doctor in tonight. Of fucking course, bitch. When I have some motherfucking issues, he has to be clocked in. Actively contemplating leaving, but I'm like, no, bitch, I can't sit up here with these intrusive thoughts making me think the fucking worst. I'm overthinking it. Let me just fucking get this shit situated and go the fuck home. And we wait a few minutes, bitch. In walks Mr. Williams. He said, Miss Baker, what trouble have you got into today? He said, what can I help you with? I said, Mr. Williams, yeah, so basically, there's like a meow, and I don't really know what it is. Like, I was like hoping maybe you could like help me, like, you know. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. He was like, now it's up to you if you're comfortable or not. You know, do you mind if I take a look? But it's like, it's completely like up to you if you're comfortable. I was like, oh yeah, like go ahead. Like, bitch, I'm gonna die. I definitely wanted to show you, babe, but not like that. I was starting to get the fucking shits, bitch, the sweats, bitch, the stuttering, bitch. I was so fucking nervous. So he like gives me this gown and he steps out. This is not happening. Like, I'm not gonna show my teacher my meow. This is not happening, bitch. It's fucking happening. Like, no, bitch. This is real, bitch. This is my life, bitch. Showing my teacher my meow. Bitch, and not in the way I wanted to. Mind y'all, he was still fine. He was still fine, girl. So I changed. I go knock at the door. He comes back in, and he makes me spread a bitch. I lay back. He has me lay back. He like held my leg up, and his arm was like this, looking through. Loki, I was like. Not me getting all flustered and whatnot when he's actively looking at a bumper. That's not really cute. But that's okay, bitch. At this point, I just have accepted my fate. He's being obviously super nice about it, making me feel comfortable. The thing is, he has gloves. He has gloves on, and he's like spreading up. Girl, he is over here like, he's touching my like, he's touching me. Bitch, not only is he looking, girl, like he is literally like opening flaps, bitch, looking through, like he is touching me. Sorry, y'all, like it just be hitting me like that was my teacher, like oh my god. Like obviously, like that's his fucking job, he's like a doctor, but like I was just like, OMG. It's still out. I'm still open. He like puts his hand like rests his like hand on my knee. He's saying like he's still looking, and he's like saying like his hands on my knee. Girl, why am I romanticized? Like, girl, this is how you can tell, bitch, I'm lonely, touch deprived, bitch, because I'm sitting up here romanticizing my doctor looking at a bump on my... Girl, I need Jesus. I need help. He says, it just looks like a minor infection. I'll send you some antibiotics and it should be gone within like a week. And then tell me why the female doctor was also in there. And she gonna joke about how, while I'm open, still open, she gonna joke about how I had asked her if there was any more doctors in, and they was laughing about it because I didn't want him to be my doctor. I was like, listen, bitch, okay. But you gotta say all that, bitch. Also, bitch, she was hairy. It was Chewbacca, bitch. It was Chewbacca, and that's okay. That's fucking okay. Because you know what? He can see that I'm a woman. I'm a woman now. Like Mr. Williams, I'm a fucking woman. And, you know, he did witness me have, you know, no infection, and that's okay. We can get past that. We can, you know, have drinks and maybe, like, you know, I'd be down for drinks if you're down for drinks. New makeup look. I hated that last one, but this one's cute. So, bitch, boost this video. Make it go viral because it fucking deserves to because it's fucking crazy. Yeah, love you. Bye, I love you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on IG.
Am I in the wrong for telling my girlfriend that her home decor is the reason I won't host a work gathering at her place? I'm 32, I've been with my girlfriend 29 for over a year now. She's smart, funny, a bit quirky, and has a serious job with a good salary. We have a great time together and generally get along well. The only thing is, her choice in home decor is bizarre, and not something that you think a normal grown adult would be into. Her apartment is definitely a reflection of herself and her interests. Not in the best way though. My girlfriend has a wall dedicated to animation in one room of her apartment, like Futurama pieces and etchings and some weird triangle guy. Then there's a wall of framed preserved insects in another room. But not insects like butterflies or moths. Instead, she displays tarantulas, beetles, and large sticky insects. Her bathroom has a subtle theme of ocean, pretty common. But instead of starfish or shells, she has a little anglerfish nightlight, a small vampiric squid painting, and then a framed diagram of what apparently is a goblin shark right by the toilet. I would say a majority of her home decor and furnishings are okay. The apartment itself is very modern and sleek. It's just the random decor and juvenile-ish themes like cartoons, insects, and bizarre ocean creatures is off-putting. This is where I might be the a-hole. I avoided bringing people over to her place, especially people from my job, because of how juvenile it looks. Everyone's impressed when they see the high-rise, but that quickly fades once you enter. The one time I brought a work colleague over, they ended up telling me after that they found her insect wall terrifying. I work in finance and appearances and first impressions are important. My office will hold casual gatherings where we get together for a few drinks, get food, and we rotate hosts. And this time, it's my turn. But the problem is my place is under some construction and not an ideal place to be right now, so I've been staying with my girlfriend. My girlfriend suggested that we host my colleagues here since she has the space and thinks it'll be fun. I told her that I plan on skipping my rotation and seeing if the next person would be okay with hosting early. She kept pressing on why I didn't want them over here, so I finally said it's because her home decor is strange and not something a grown woman should have, and also that her insect wall had horrified one of the colleagues that did come over. My girlfriend got mad and said at the end of the day, it's not my space and these things bring her joy. She also said that she is indeed an adult woman, which is exactly why her apartment is decorated in such a manner. I love my girlfriend, I do, and it's okay to have different interests, but does an adult really need to decorate them with size a few things here and there? I mean, my own mother asked if my girlfriend was autistic after she saw the entire apartment for the first time. So am I in the wrong?